It was a year after the event of Halloween Town called Bradbury Town, yet some things have never changed in a group of 5 kids. It was Thursday, October 30th, and it was a day before Halloween. Tom Skellington was waiting for another spectacular person on Halloween night with his friends, Jenny Knight, Ralph Biggerson, Wally Babb, and Joe Pipkin, also known as Pip. After a long day of school, they were walking home. So you guys ready for Halloween this year? Tom asked again. You bet, Pip said, but yet again he felt ashamed and rubbed his arm. Sorry I didn't get to go with you guys last year. It was because of my appendix. It's okay, Pip. Pip, Tom said, wrapping his arm around his shoulder. It's not your fault. Which is why we wanted to make it up to you this year, Ralph said, as he held some of one of Pip's hands. We'll be going trick-or-treating after that, and we'll be sleeping over at my house, Jenny added. And we'll all promise you guys that this year will be the best Halloween ever, Wally said. They all stood up in one-hand circle, filled with castor-siri and ecstasy, and of course a warmth of near their friends. Pip began to smile as he had tears filled in his eyes. Thank you guys, he said. He was giving his friends a heart-to-warm-up hug. That means a whole lot to me. They were all hugged tightly they could before they broke away. I gotta do my homework, Pip said. I'll see you guys tomorrow. He sprinted his way home, waving goodbye to his friends as they all waved him goodbye back in return. What do you think we should pay our old friend a visit? Tom suggested. Who? Wally asked. Mr. Wilkinson? Ralph asked as he was laughing at the joke along with, since Wally was his best friend. Mr. Dermoundstroud? Tom answered. Mr. Monshroud? Jenny asked. You mean the guy who owned the Halloween tree? Yep, that's the one, Tom said. It has been a year since we saw him, Ralph pointed out. Do you think he would even remember us? I don't know, but it's worth a check, Tom said. Remember what Pip said last year? Ready, set, go? In an instant, Tom, Jenny, Ralph, and Wally made their way towards the woods, and they dashed through the ravine. They came across a towering, darkened mansion that was presumed to be owned by Mr. Mountshound himself. It was still standing and it looked just about the same as it did the year before. It seems that it hasn't changed a bit, Ralph said. Yeah, Jimmy agreed. But do you guys think he's still living there? I don't know, Tom answered. It's worth checking though. The kids made a beeline to the steps, heading up towards the front porch when Tom placed one of the foot on one of the steps. The steps didn't squirm around as they did last year. That's odd, he said, scratching his head. They're acting funny last year. He then turned around to his friends, who assured them to follow as they climbed up the stairs. They got up to the front porch where they saw the door knocker that closely resembled Jacob Marley from the Christmas Carol. Hey, Ginny, since you knocked before, why don't you go knock again? Wally asked. Okay, I'll give it a shot, Jenny said as she walked over towards the door knocker and tried to lift it up, but it wouldn't lift. She struggled to pull it upwards to try to get it to go up. But after a second or two of trying to lift, Jenny gave up and said, It's stuck. This confused and puzzled the group of kids. Maybe the door knocker got super glued in, Wally suggested. Tom began to grow frustration angrily that he shouted, Mr. Monshroud, this isn't funny. If you don't want us to see you, then that's fine, but making us worried like this isn't fair. He then let out a frustration sigh before sitting down on one of the steps. Jenny sat down beside him and did her best to calm her friends down. Tom, we can't just give up yet, she said. Maybe Mr. Monshroud is only up during the night. Tom then looked away from her and, of course, hiding his scowl. Well, we'll find him, Tom, and I promise, Jenny said, reassuring him. Once he looked over to see the sweet, kind-hearted smile, Tom returned to the smile and said, Yeah, you're right, he said. It was then that Ralph remembered something else about Mr. Monshroud, his very own Halloween tree. Hey, wait a minute, he said. What about the Halloween tree? Thought the others as Tom said in an instant. He jumped up from the step and he said, Of course, the Halloween tree. Mr. Monshroud always keeps his pumpkins up on Halloween. Maybe they're up again this year, Jenny guessed. Let's check it out. The kids then ran from the front porch to the back of the yard, where the Halloween tree would be. Once they were all there, they found a tree with pumpkins on each branch. That was very different because, however, that was when they were not lit up, that they were supposed to be. Well, the pumpkins are there, Wally said. The only thing is missing is, well, its owner. Tom then raised his hands up in frustration and said, Okay, I now understand why Mr. Monstron is not here. It's because he doesn't want anything to do with us, is that it? But before Tom could raise his voice, Jenny immediately gave him a hug and consoled him. Tom, please calm down, she said. Tom returned a hug to his close friend. Hey, I get that he's not around, but you shouldn't be mad at him, Jenny said before they broke away. We should give him some space until tomorrow. They all looked at each other sincerely with their eyes, and towards Tom looked away with deep breaths before giving her a smile. Yeah, you're right, he said. Tomorrow is Halloween after all. Jimmy then smiled at her friends and gave him a pat on the shoulder. Come on, guys, Tom said. Let's go home. Right when they were about to leave, something fell and hit Wally's head before it hit the ground. Ow, Wally said, rubbing his head. Something just hit my head. They all looked down and they saw it was a golden medallion shaped like a pumpkin. What is that? Tom asked. It's some sort of medallion, Ralph answered. Ginny picked it up and took a minute or two to examine it. It has the shape of the pumpkin, she said. But who sent it to us? Wally asked. Could it be Mr. Monshroud? Ralph guessed. At the very moment, a very few note that flew down on the gang. Jenny took a hold of it and began to read it. It's from Mr. Monshroud, she answered. Tom, Ralph, and Wally gathered around to listen to the big message. It read, Kids, I am sorry that I'm unable to see you at the moment. I am currently fixing up my home in preparation for Halloween this year. As much as I am too busy tonight, there is something for you must know. My enemy named Madame La Ghost is haunting to you and your friend Pip down. Jenny then stopped reading the message and took a look at friends. Madame La Ghost? Ralph asked. What kind of a name is that? I don't know, Wally said, shrugging to his shoulder. Maybe it's some sort of his ghoul friend. They all laughed at Wally's joke, but the other two were not really amused with the joke. Why aren't you guys laughing? Ralph asked. This Madame La Ghost character is Mr. Shroud's enemy, and not his girlfriend, Tom collected. Oh, Ralphie and Wally groaned in disappointment. Tom then turned around to see Jenny, who was looking at the note. What else does it say, Jenny? He asked. It's about what is Mr. Mouthshroud is trying to warn us about Madame La Ghost. Let me see here, Jenny said while nodding her head. She looked at the note again and began to read the rest of the message. Madame La Ghost is plotting to kidnap Pip and use him as bait here to lure you into her lair. If you want to save your friend, you must keep an eye on him. Otherwise, he is doomed to be her servant. Of course, she has arrived in Bradbury town to seek revenge after seeing herself in the realm of darkness. Since then, Madame La Ghost promised herself to take the kids down and turn them into monsters, skeletons, witches, mummies, and even monsters, just to name a few. I thought you may use my medallion in case if you need my help. You can rub it at 3 times, and I'll be there as quick as flashes lightning. Within a matter of seconds, the wind began to bow with thunder crashing and the lightning flashing. The kids began to feel chilled by the wind. Jenny read faster by the words, Mr. Mouthshroud is glad for them. Hurry home before Madame La Ghost finds you. 2. Heed this warning and save yourself before it's too late. Signed, Mr. Mouthshroud. The wind then got strong and sent the note flying out of Jenny's hands. Come on, Tom said. We gotta warn Pip before anything happens to him. With that said, Tom, Ralph, and Wally ran all the way to the front porch. Jenny stayed behind and looked one last look at Mr. Shroud's medallion. Jenny, come on, Tom called out to her. Okay, Jenny said, as she placed the object in her green jacket pocket, and then catching up to the guys, they dashed down the steps and sprinted out of the woods and to make it their way to Pip's home. When they got there, the gang found a group of cop cars. They began to worry for their friend's well-being. They went to the nearest police officer and of course some of the crime. His name was Officer Kenny, and he was known for the town's police officer because he knew everyone in the community. Excuse us, Officer Kenny, Tom said, catching his attention. Ah, hello there, Tom, Jenny, Ralph, and Wally, Officer Kenny said. Ed, I could see you're all feeling distressed for your friend. Yes, it's about Pip, Ralph explained. What happened to him? Wally asked. Is he okay? Jenny chimed in. Pip's parents called on his account of hearing screams of him, Officer Jenny explained. When they got up to his room, they found him with a message on his bed. He took out the note and, of course, handed it to Tom, and they all read it out loud, and they realized it was from Madame La Ghost. It said, Your friend Pip has signed a new warrant as he may be a new servant. If you want him back, then you'll have to meet me in the clock tower in the Bradbury town. Madame La Ghost. Oh no, Jenny said. We're too late. Did you know this Madame La Ghost figure? Ralph asked. Officer Kenny examined the handwriting on the message before shrugging his shoulders and shaking his head. Nope, I can't say I have, he said. But the letter says that your friend is at the clock tower. Then you better hurry up and bring him back to his parents. They'll greatly appreciate that. Okay, Officer Kenny. We'll do our best to find him, Tom said as he and his friends began to make their way to the Bradbury clock tower. All right, be careful, Officer Kenny said. I'm counting on you. We'll be extra careful, Wally called. Thank you very much, Officer Kenny, Jenny called, waving to him. Anytime, kids, Officer Kenny called, waving back to them. 10 minutes later, the kids finally arrived at the Bradbury clock tower. They began to wonder if Pip was really inside the building mentioned along with Madame La Ghost. You think she's really there? Wally asked. Only one way to find out, Tom said. Come on, they all ran up the stairs leading to the entrance of the clock tower. Fortunately, the doors were still unlocked, so they were able to get inside with no problem. Hello? Tom called. You hear, Pip? They ventured off into the darkness reception into the room and searched for Pip. Pip! Jenny called. It's us, Tom, Jenny, Ralph, and Wally. We're trying to find you, Wally said. Where are you? Ralph asked, but all of a sudden Wally looked pale as a sheet, as if he has just seen something that spooked. Moved to him to the court. Guys? Wally stuttered. Is that Wally? Jenny asked. Wally tried to speak, but no words could come out of his mouth. Come on, Wally, Tom encouraged his friend. Use your words. It's a ghost! Wally cried out as they turned to see the pale white woman wearing a long black dress and red dark eyes feathered the shawl. She then took out her wand and placed a sleeping spell on the kids, knocking them out cold. 1 hour later, Tom woke up to find himself inside the capsule. He gasped and got up into his feet. Oh no! Tom exclaimed. This can't be true. He then turned around to see his friends inside capsules as well. Jenny looked at Tom and got up her feet. Tom! Jenny cried. Jenny, Tom said. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Jenny answered. But I want to know what's weird, Ralphie said. 1 minute we were in the clock tower reception office, and now the next minute we're in these capsules. Wally took that Tom out for a second or two to figure out. That weird woman must have trapped us in here. What? His friend shrieked. And I bet she has also kidnapped Pip, Tom added. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Wally whimpered as at the brink of a panic. I don't think I can handle this. I can't take this. Jenny then did her very best to console the poor kid. Wally, she said, I understand you're scared, but calm down. Calm down, Wally, Ralph joined in. And I am not going to go down without you guys, Wally declared. Okay, look, Tom explained. I'm just scared as you are, but we gotta stay calm and raise our heads. If I use my head, Wally said, to break this capsule, Lucky and his friend stopped him before he could potentially hurt himself. There's gotta be another way, Ralph said, while everyone tried their best to figure out how they get themselves out of the capsules. Jenny remembered something. The medallion, she said. She reached inside the green jacket and in hopes the medallion from Mr. Mudshroud would give him there. Fortunately, it was still in her pocket. I still have it, she sighed in relief. Her friends and her couldn't believe her eyes. How would that help us, Jen? Wally asked. If I use this medallion, then Mr. Mudshroud would come here and get us out, Jenny answered. This was an idea towards Tom. Give it a good shot, Jenny, he encouraged her. Rub the medallion 3 times and see if it still works. Okay, Jenny said. With that said, Jenny began to rub the medallion 3 times, hoping that something may happen. But strangely enough, nothing happened. The kids left confused, even worried. Okay, how come it's not happening? Ralphie asked. Maybe that medallion's broken, Wally guessed. Jenny rubbed the medallion 3 more times, but nothing happened. Okay, this is starting to get on my nerves, she said, getting agitated. Just then, someone walked in the room while laughing. It was some pale woman dressed in long black dress and, of course, dark red feather shawl. Of course, the kids became frightened, while mostly Wally, who fainted for a second. Well, the woman said. Look at what we have here. She then walked up to the capsules and examined the kids. First, she then walked up to Tom, who was shaking like a leaf. You look like you have the same name for a skeleton, the woman said. Tom began flabbergasted when she said that to his last name, identical to skeleton. The next woman walked up to Jenny, who at this time felt nervous. You certainly have the wits to be a witch, she said. Jenny turned to look at the woman who scowled at her face. Then the woman walked up to Ralph, who was gasping for her. Oh dear, looks like you need some tissues for your snot nose. Ralph then felt insulted with her remark. I don't have a snot nose, he said. Finally, the woman walked up to Wally, who managed to get back on his feet. Poor dear, she said. What's the matter? You look like you've just seen a ghost. Wally then became spooked at the woman. It was as if he saw it right through her. "You're..." Wally stuttered. "Yes," the woman said. "You're transparent," Wally finished. "Well, why, thank you," she said in delight. "I always like to be doing that in my own way." "Who are you anyway?" Tom asked. "And what do you have done to Pip?" Ralph demanded. The woman then looked at the kids before chuckling a bit. "Oh, how rude of me," she said, taking out her fan. "My name is Ghost, Madame La Ghost." She then batted her eyes to grin at the attention of the guys. Jenny, who was uninterested at the attention, crossed her arms. "Come on, guys," she said. "Don't let her distract you." Her guy friends then took her interest off and give her dirty looks. "Anyways, now we know that who you are. Where is Pip?" Tom demanded. "Yeah, where is he?" Jimmy joined in. "Pip?" Madame La Ghost said. "You mean Joan Pipkin?" "He's our friend," Wally said. "We just want to know if he's okay." His friends nodded his heads in agreement. "Well, he was expecting you," Madame La Ghost said. She clapped her hands twice. Then the blue ghost resembling Pip walked down to the room. Tom, Jenny, Ralphie, and Wally were horrified, even for their friend Pip. "Pip?" Jenny asked. "What happened to you?" Wally then asked Pip to the same thing, and of course, Pip turned to look at his mistress and say, "May I tell them, Madame?" "By all means, dear Pipkin," Madame La Ghost answered. The blue ghost then turned back to look at the kids and began to explain the story. "As soon as I headed for home, I was doing my homework just as I promised myself. After working the mathematics and science, I decided to go grab the snack, and when I went back to my room to watch a movie, only to give an encounter to my future mistress, Madame La Ghost. She took me to Bradbury Town Clock Tower and gave me something that I lacked for so long. She gave me purpose, she gave me motivation, and she gave me her life to live our unlife of my own, very own. In other words, I turned him into a ghost like me," Madame La Ghost said proudly. And the kids began to fear about their friend's life, as well as having enough with Madame La Ghost for one more time. With this much courage and determination, she could be muster. Jenny tried her best to get it through Pip. "Pip, listen to me," she said. "This is not you. Madame La Ghost is making you into her servant." "That's enough," Madame La Ghost said. Everyone began to shake in fear. "I haven't had time to argue with you," she explained. "Halloween is tomorrow night, so I must make you monsters to traumatize all of Bradbury." She then turned to her loyal servant, Pip. Of course, that's what the Madame La Ghost said. "Will you do the honor?" "Yes, ma'am," Pip said. Emotionlessly, he walked over to the lever and touched it. Despite its pleas and cries for help, there was nothing you could do to stop their friend. Without a moment to spare, Pip lowered the lever, causing the capsules to grow bright red. Each and every day the kids were inside felt weaker and weaker. Shivering like a leaf, Tom realized that this was slowly transforming into a skeleton. His blue shirt and jeans changed into a black long-sleeve shirt and black long legs with pants that were green bones with them. Jenny gasped with affright as she saw her pink short-sleeved t-shirt and, of course, blue capri pants turning into a long purple-sleeved dress and orange sparkles. Her green jacket transformed into a black and purple cape. Ralph's eyes opened wide and realized the mummy wraps that were added to his brown and long-sleeved shirt and the brown long-sleeved pants. Wally's mouth had dropped open and let out a scream, but his yellow t-shirt turned to a gray-like dress shirt with a brown fur. Of course, Madame La Ghost has let out maniacal laughs as she and Pip witnessed the horrifying transformations. But before things could get any worse, the glass suddenly broke, and Madame La Ghost turned around to see a silhouette of a man, darkening and once again the lightning dimmed to the light. The silhouette resembled to be a man with green skin, purple sunken eyelids, and gray suit and gray-red cape. Without a second to spare, he made it to a beeline that he never made before and pushed it all the way up, stopping the madness before it could get any messy. The capsules lifted up, freeing Tom, Jenny, Ralph, and Wally from the torture of their transformations. While their skins or hair had not changed, their clothes had. They were shocked and awed to see that their clothing with them. Of course, they looked up to see the man that they hadn't seen last year. "Mr. Monshroud!" they cried. Monshroud then turned to look at the kids. "Greetings, kids," he said, head with a bow. "Did you all miss me?" "We all knew you would come around," Jenny said. Madame La Ghost hysterically clapped her hands with a little interest in the eyes. My, she said. "Isn't it my old friend, Carapace Clavel Monshroud?" Of course, that's Madame La Ghost, Mr. Monshroud sneered. How dare you attempt to turn these kids into monsters? Did you know what you could have done? You could have made them into your slaves. Is that so? Madame La Ghost said without a cave. She then walked up to Pip and said, Take a look at what I give to Pipkin. I gave him a promotion as my loyal servant. Mr. Monshroud was astonished when he saw Pip as a ghost. He realized that there was nothing he could do to get the poor boy back. However, he took this grin off and grew angry at the ghost lady. You may have won tonight's battle, Mr. Monshroud warned to the area of his eyes, but we will win the war. He then turned and looked at the kids, who managed to get up on their feet. Come on, kids, Mr. Monshroud said. Let's leave this pitiful space. Tom, Jenny, and Ralph and Wally walked towards their friend, who invited them to grab a hold of the gate. Until we meet again, Madame La Ghost said. Mr. Monshroud said coldly. He dashed through the broken window and flew up to the night sky with the kids holding on his cape tightly. They flew up above to avoid the lightning and the rain. Once there was nothing but clouds. Mr. Monshroud turned to the kids, who were in awe, and they were mourning for their loss of their friend. Mr. Monshroud, Tom said, is Pip a monster? I'm afraid so, Tom, Mr. Monshroud said sadly. Since he underwent transformation as a ghost, there is nothing we could do. Oh my gosh, Wally said. I feel very bad for Pip. Me too, Ralph said. We're planning to have another great Halloween with him. The kids said felt miserable and sorry for Pip. Now, kids, Mr. Monshroud said, I understand how much you miss Pip very dearly, but there is a new adventure that is waiting to be unfolded. A new adventure? Ginny asked. What's that? Wally asked. A new adventure to guard Bradbury Town as well as the undiscovered country before Madame La Ghost could control both destinations into one. Mr. Monshroud explained. So were you all up for the task? Without any hesitation, every single one of the kids said yes. That's the spirit, Mr. Monshroud cheered. By this time, the storm had quieted down, and the clouds began to spread apart, revealing some of the ground below. Mr. Monshroud said, Now is the perfect time to get to know you two origins for Halloween. He turned to Jenny. Jennifer, Mr. Monshroud announced again. My name is Jenny, Mr. Monshroud. Jenny corrected him. She didn't really like being called her full name very much. Jennifer, Mr. Monshroud began. Do you remember flying through the star-filled sky? Jenny answered. How is this your experience of heights? Mr. Monshroud said. Well, I managed to get over my fear of heights last year, Jenny explained. In that case, there is something waiting for you under the clouds, Mr. Monshroud said. Jenny then looked down and saw nothing but clouds, making her feel uneasy. Are you sure? She asked. I am certain, Mr. Monshroud said. On the count of 3, get ready to drop. Jenny held her head and looked down at the clouds, bracing herself at what was about to happen. 1, Mr. Monshroud said. Jenny began to take deep breaths. 2, Mr. Monshroud said, to prepare himself for the worst to come. Jenny closed her eyes and held her breath, and she began to loosen her grip on the cape. Free, Mr. Monshroud said. Jenny let go of the cape and began to fall for the cloud, letting out a loud scream. Jenny! Tom, Ralph, and Wally cried. They feared their friend's life and wondered if she was all right. Mr. Monshroud, what was all that about? Tom asked in anger. You'll see, boys, Mr. Monshroud said. Just look behind us. They could see nothing but clouds until there was someone familiar flew at the speed of light on the broomstick. It was Jenny. The boys had deflated to see her alive and well and gave her a smile. When Jenny caught up to the gang, she said, It's been so long since I rode a broomstick. She rode her broomstick with gave so much glancing under them. Splendid, Mr. Monshroud said with a glee. Now that's what I call a spirit of witch. Jenny then shared a heart-filled smile as she hung on to her broom. Mr. Monshroud then turned to Wally and said, Wally, do you remember the building of Notre Dame? Yeah, Wally said, opening his eyes in remembrance that I have summoned some gargoyles. I miss those. Well, Mr. Monshroud said, one of them is here. Here? Wally asked. Where? Here, boy, Mr. Monshroud said. Get ready to drop on the count of 3. 1. Wally then looked down into sheer in horror. 2. Mr. Monshroud said. Wally took a deep breath and closed his eyes, like Jenny did. 3. Wally listened to the group at the cape and fell for the clouds. Wally! Tom and Ralph cried. Oh no, Jenny said. But within a few moments, they heard a roar of a lion. It sounded like them flying from behind, and saw Wally riding them in the back of the stone griffin, half eagle and half lion. They sighed in relief and happiness to see that Wally was riding like a cowboy. He managed to catch up to the group holding on to the griffin. Oh my gosh, Wally said in delight. How are you doing, Leo? The griffin growled with happiness and purred to the gargoyle costume boy. Look who's got a perfect name for a gargoyle, Monshroud said. That is so much cute for a name for a griffin, Jenny said. Wally then looked at his friend with a smile. I would actually call it a cool name, Wally said with pride. Then Mr. Monstro turned to look at Ralph. Ralph, he said, do you remember exploring the pyramids of Egypt? Oh yeah, Ralph said. It was when we learned about the Feast of the Ghosts. Exactly, exclaimed Mr. Mousetrot said. Speaking of ghosts, we also saw some carpets, which is why there's something under the clouds waiting for someone to ride on it. Ralph looked and gulped in fear. I don't know, he said with worry. No need to fret, said Mr. Mousetrot insisted. Get ready to drop on the count of 3. 1, Ralph said, looking at Jenny and Wally, which of course each of them were on their contraptions. Then they looked at Tom and said, I love you, man. Love you too, dude, Tom said. 2, Mr. Mousetrot counted. Ralph looked and get ready to drop. 3, Mr. Mousetrot said as Ralph let go of the cape and fell through the clouds, letting out a scream. Ralph! Tom, Jenny, and Wally cried. They were worried for their friend, but someone very familiar in the distance. It was Ralph, riding on one of the magic carpets from ancient Egypt. His friends became excited for their friend as they watched him soar across through the sky, and they made some loop-de-loops. Ralph wasted no time to catch up to the rest of the gang. However, as he zoomed towards them, Holy smokes! Ralphie said as in such excitement. I never knew flying on a real magic carpet would be so cool. That looks so cool, Wally said. Amazing, Jenny, he added. Wicked cool, Ralph. Wicked cool, Ralph, Tom joined in. On a score of 10 of 10 for the carpet skills, Mr. Moonshine said. He finally turned to Tom. My boy, Mr. Moonshine began. Do you remember the Muertos? Yeah, Tom said. It took place in Mexico when it was a stop for us. That's correct, Mr. Moonshine said. In fact, those under these clouds lead to skeleton skating board. It will, however, for in the sky, defying its gravity. Tom then looked down into the clouds and a bit of the ground. Are you ready? Mr. Moonshine said. I guess so. Tom hesitated when Mr. Moonshine began to count. 1, he then said, take a look at his friends with Ralph and ending with Jenny. 2, Ralph, of course, Mr. Moonshine continued. While he was ready to drop, Tom looked at his friends one last time before saying, I love you guys. 3, Mr. Moonshine said as he is hesitant. Tom let go of Mr. Mounshine's cape and fell through the clouds. Tom! His friends cried. They hoped for his safety and his concern for his well-being. That was until when they saw Tom on a real-life skeleton skateboard that was built by the bones and bat wings to make it fly. Cowabunga, dudes! Tom said as he flew faster than the speed of light to catch up with the group. Wow, Tom, Jenny said. You're looking cool with that skateboard. Her compliments made Tom blush, which of course that's why his cheeks turned pink. Aw, shucks, he said, looking at the radical dude. Ralph said, you could be surfing through the clouds, Wally said. Once everyone settled down to their gifted items, Mr. Moonshine announced, all of you guys look excellent on your contraptions. These will be helping you to get around whenever I'm not here or whenever you've been asked to exact location of your mission. The kids were pleased with their assigned transportations Mr. Moonshine gifted them. Wait a minute, Tom said. We can't let our parents know we've turned into half humans and half monsters. If we show up at our homes, they'll think we're full-fleshed monsters, Jenny explained. Then we'll have to find a place to rest up, Ralph stated, until we stop Madame La Ghost and bring Pip back. Wally said, this gives Mr. Moonshine an idea. Here are 3 bedrooms in my mansion, he said. The 2 of you should share 2 bedrooms. Mine is the master bedroom. Are you sure about that? Jenny asked. I'm positive that is my love for Lavender, Mr. Mountrout replied. Of course, thanks, Mr. Mountrout, Tom said. We'll make sure we won't be a burden, Jenny added. Mr. Mountrout gave the kids a smile. But before they headed home, what should we do? What should we all say to make a ride for the sky? He suggested. With that being said, Mr. Mountrout and the kids flew around the sky. Tom then surfed over the clouds while Jenny twirled and circled around them. Ralph controlled his magic carpet like a roller coaster by going for the clouds, up and down while making Wally made Leo and his gargoyle griffin Finn perform flips. They decided to make their way to Mr. Moonshine's mansion. Until they were prepared with their abilities, they would be ready to take down Madame La Ghost, bring Pip back, and save Bradbury Town once and for all. Alright, And that, my little pretties, was the Halloween Tree, the series, I guess I could say, pilot episode. A, well, yeah, Halloween Tree lost, pilot episode written by Bailey Maloney. My final thoughts on the story? Alright, since this one was like a really long story, which was about a half an hour, I'm going to try to keep the review as short as I possibly can. Now, first of all, I would like to say that I was going to save this for Halloween, but I decided, why not? I'm sure there might be more creepypastas like this. Now, I could definitely say right here, right now, that this story was actually really good. I could definitely say that the concept itself was actually rather nice and really amazing, and I could definitely say there was a lot of time and effort into the story, and that's a very good positive thing when it comes to the story. Now, I do appreciate the concept itself being rather interesting, as I found the concept to be rather good. I actually do appreciate was the good grammar, the storyline of how the episode went out, the sentence structuring being good, and basically everything was just flowed out perfectly. Now, it was just amazing. Even though it was a long story, I have never seen the Halloween Tree, so I really don't really know much about it because I've never watched it, so, but I might consider maybe taking a look at it. It actually looks like a pretty interesting show. I'm looking at it right now because I want to know. Oh wow, it came out in the 90s, so I think I did remember seeing this on TV once, but I can't honestly remember it. That's the thing, though. I think I might have saw it when I was a kid, but probably don't remember, but it's actually a really good story, and I could definitely say, Bailey Maloney, you did an awesome job with this story. There was definitely lots of time. There was definitely lots of time and effort into the story. There was definitely a great concept to it. I do appreciate the good grammar with this story. I do appreciate the sentence structuring and the storyline of how it all went out. So, in conclusion, this one, since it came out in the 90s, this is probably some nostalgic stuff from the 90s. I'm going to have to rewatch this show because I don't know if I remember seeing the show. I might have saw it when I was a kid, but probably don't remember. But I could definitely say this one was a really well done and really well made story. Now, I hope you can make more episodes of this, Bailey, because I would really like to see more of your stories with the Halloween tree. It is pretty interesting, I could definitely say. Now, I think if I have to say one thing negative about it would have to be, well, although the grammar was really good and the sentence structuring and all that, the paragraph structuring, there were a few times where the paragraphs were a little too big. Like, they were, like, it's not in one giant paragraph. I know the paragraph structuring is good, but could be a little bit better, because I believe I saw a few paragraphs that were a bit big, so that was kind of one of the reasons why I stuttered sometime during the story, because, it was a little difficult to read at certain parts, but, but other than that, that doesn't, and there was no cliches in the story, so that's definitely a plus. I can say there was no cliches within the story. Well, I think there might have been maybe one or two cliches that I do know, but I'm willing to excuse them. I can't point my finger on what they are, but if I do, maybe I'll just point them out in another video or something. But other than that, the story was actually very well done. There was definitely lots of time and effort into it, and I actually found it to really be enjoyable. Now, I do apologize for not getting to the story as soon as you sent it to me, because I was busy. I was trying to get to other stories, but now finally, I am so glad I got to your story, Bailey. So with that said, I hope you do more stories like this. It's really awesome, and I could definitely say you did you did a good job with the story, Bailey, and I highly recommend you guys want to check out her story. Feel free to check out her story out, because it's really amazing. Alright, I think I kind of explained enough about it, and I think the review is long as it is, so I'm going to wrap up the review. Now, Bailey, the paragraph structuring of the story just needs to be fixed up a little bit, but then other than that, the story was actually very well done, and that's a very good positive that I'm just saying, just to try to help you, is, just to fix up the paragraph structuring a little bit, and then the story would be a much easier to read. At least for some other people that might want to read it in the future. But anyways, Yeah, like I'm gonna say right now, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm gonna give this one a 9.5 out of 10. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10 because it was a really good story. I believe there were one or two cliches that I can't really point out right now, but if I do end up seeing them or finding them out what they are, I'll definitely let you guys know. And second, the grammar was really good, along with the sentence structuring. The paragraph structure was good, although the paragraph structure could be fixed up just a little bit. But other than that, the story was actually very well done. I actually found this one to be a very enjoyable story. So, I guess I could just wrap it up right here because this review is long as it is. And if you guys like the story, let me know what your thoughts are on it. And anyways, what did you all think about this curry pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And like always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here. And I will be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.